Hi, my name is Ty Preiniger, and I am a technology facilitator for Mesquite ISD. And for this lesson, I'm going to be walking you through the mapping of Texas history, the geography and regions of Texas. So lesson 1. So what you're going to need for your kids to first do this is they need a MyMap, a blank MyMap. If you've already put in the layers for each lesson that we're going to do, that would be helpful. If not, we can just start by adding one layer at a time. So let me share the instructions with you. You'll need these instructions for your kids. I recommend having a paper copy for them to use. You can choose to have the essential questions with that handout ready for them. And then I'll be talking about these curiosity questions whenever we're finished. But have a paper copy ready to go. And I'm going to share my map with you. And so here we go. So since our 7th graders have iPads, it's best that this lesson be completed on a Chromebook or some kind of laptop or even in the computer lab, just because of all of the markers and rivers and whatnot that we need to plot. It's easier to do with mouse clicks as opposed to our hand. So when we start with our instructions, I'm actually going to start backwards with our city markers, because I think that you'll see if we were to add the regions first, then that would cover up some of the portions of our map. So to get started, here is my menu over here, and I'm going to make sure that I have the geography and regions of Texas layer checked. I have this thin blue line on the left-hand side, so this will ensure that every single thing that I add to this layer will be in the correct place. So I said we'll start with the cities first. So we'll start with Austin, Texas. So the easiest way to add a city on a MyMap is to go to the search bar up here, type in Austin, go ahead and select one that's there, and it's going to automatically drop a marker at our spot. We want to click Add to Map, and then I'm going to remove this extra stuff. And since Austin is the capital of Texas, I'm going to use the paint bucket to make that a gold star that represents Austin. So now when you zoom out, no matter how far you zoom out, you'll always be able to see the star. So the next place that we want to add to our map is Mesquite. So for all cities, I'm going to add this the same way. Search for Mesquite, Texas, hit enter, add to map, remove these details. And for our regular cities, we want to make them black round markers. And so what we can do is see our marker. Now, let's say that you accidentally put your marker in the wrong place. You didn't search for it. You just guessed where Mesquite was. Well, if you look and see what my mouse looks like right now, it's a hand that's showing 5 fingers. That allows me to drag on the screen. But if I hover over an icon, you can see that it changes to a pointer finger. I can click and hold that, and then it allows me to have my editing icon. And once you're in edit mode, you can move that around wherever you need it to go. And let's say I accidentally put it in Plano. I can hit Command Z and undo it just like you can on a word processing document. So that's a little shortcut for you. Let's say that you have some kids who are fast workers, and we want them to actually use the picture icon, and we want to add a picture of Mesquite, Texas. You can do a simple Google image search and see what you come up with. Here's our city's logo, so you can add that logo to your marker and save that. But let's save pictures for later. So the next city I need to find is El Paso. Once again, once I find it, it drops a green marker. I want to add this to my map, remove these details, and change it to a black circular icon. So continue on with Del Rio in the same way. I want you to see that when I'm searching for things, a bunch of random places come up, from stores to other towns in various cities or even to road names. So make sure that you click on the correct one. But that is important to note that you can search for just about literally any place on a map and it will find what you're looking for. So not just cities, but landforms or roads or national parks. And we're going to use that feature here in just a minute. So I need to remove that. Oh no, I don't know what I just did. Let's see, I clicked on view in Google Maps. So you'll see that view in Google Maps is something that's completely different from My Maps. Google Maps will take you to a place where you can get directions, whereas this is what we're actually mapping. So let me remove that black circle, and I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to see all the major cities that I marked in Texas. So this may be when you want your kids to add descriptions like this city is the most populated city in the state, or this city is where the Alamo is located. It's kind of up to you if you want your kids to put descriptions for these places. So the next thing that I want to do is a little bit more difficult. We're going to add some lines for rivers. So whenever we add a line, we're always going to use this tool right here, the Draw a Line feature. When you click on that, click on Add Line or Shape, and you can see that my mouse changed once again to like a crosshairs. And so whenever we draw a river, or let's just say a line, so I'm going to draw a line from here to here. You can see that it's a pretty straight line. And the more I click, I can just continue to make a line. To end my line, I hover over the last white dot that I clicked and it changes to the pointer finger. And when you click on that, it will give you an option to name your line. But I'm going to hit cancel and I'm going to delete it. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to map our first river, the Rio Grande River. So the Rio Grande we know is the border between Texas and Mexico, but it's actually a very long river. And so to have an idea, to get the idea of where it starts, I'm actually going to go into the search bar and I'm going to type in headwater of RG. And so that stands for basically the beginning of the Rio Grande River, and it tells me that it's in this county in Colorado. So when I click on that, it's not adding a marker to my map, but it's giving me a point of reference. So now when I zoom out, I can see that the Rio Grande actually starts way up here along the Continental Divide in Colorado. So now what I can do is I can zoom in just a little bit because I can see with this satellite view basically where the river goes through New Mexico. And then once I know that I can map it through El Paso, I just follow the literal border out to the Gulf of Mexico. So I'm going to X out of this box. Again, this marker isn't a part of my map, it's just a point of reference. So now I can use my line tool to start clicking where that marker is. And the more I click, the more I can be accurate with my line. But I'm just going to continue it along the border of Texas. Now, let's say that I want to zoom in and be a little bit more specific. So I'm just zooming with my mouse. You can even use the plus and minus tool before you've ended your line. And you can see that, I'm not really directly on the line. So the more I zoom in, the more accurate I could be with my line. The river is extremely curvy and just follows the downhill slope of the geography of the land. But I don't want to spend too much time on it, so I'm just going to follow the rough border between Texas and Mexico. So I'm going to keep on going down to Brownsville and out into the Gulf of Mexico, end my line, and then I'm going to call it the Rio Grande River. For the description, I might say that this is the border between Texas and Mexico. I'm going to save it, and I just want to see what kind of pictures are out there real quick. Again, if you don't have time for this, we can add these later. You can go back to class and your kids can add pictures from their iPad. So I think this picture gets a good representation of what the terrain looks like based on what I saw on the satellite map. So I'm going to add that, save it. Now rivers, we want to change the color to blue because it's water. And I want to make the line a little bit wider so that it really pops on the map. So now when I click off of it and zoom out, I've mapped the Rio Grande River. So the second map we're going to do is the Red River. I know the Red River is the border between Oklahoma and Texas. And if you want, you can use your book on page 58 to get a better idea of where these rivers are. But I'm going to use my draw a line tool again. Start here around the Palo Duro Canyon in Texas and start clicking along this line and the border between us and Oklahoma. And again, you can zoom in and see how exact you're getting. See, I'm a little off right here. I'm not going to worry if I'm off a little bit now. I can go and move my line later, but you know, you could be as exact as you guys have time for. So to save time, I'm going to zoom out and just continue my line here. Now I want to make sure that I know where the Red River ends. So I'm going to, it shows that it keeps on going through this part. So forming part of the border of Texas and Arkansas. I'm going to keep going, following the river. In fact, this part of the river looks pretty dry. It's still going. Wow, on through Shreveport, Louisiana. It's still going. And notice when I'm going over to the corner, I'm not clicking, I'm just holding my mouse kind of over that area and it's moving the screen for me. I think the Red River is going to end up going out into the Gulf. And so I'm just going to keep on clicking out. I'm going to zoom out. and just end my Red River here in the Gulf of Mexico. Again, I'm going to use the paint bucket tool, change the color to blue, and make my line a bolder line. And let's zoom out and see what it looks like. Okay, so there's the Red River. Our next river is the Sabine River. The Sabine River actually makes the border between Texas and Louisiana. It starts somewhere over here, I think, coming out of Lake Tawakoni. So if we zoom in, there it is right there. So all that low-lying green area is probably part of the river. So what I'm going to do is zoom out a little bit, keeping it in my view, go to my line tool, along this low-lying area. I'll zoom in just to make sure that that's the river, and there it is. This one is pretty twisty river. But I can pretty much see it down through here. And I know that eventually it's going to get to the border of Texas and Louisiana, because if you look at it, we know that this border between Texas and Louisiana, it's a straight line. So that's definitely not a river, because rivers don't flow in straight lines. But see how this line is definitely crooked and zigzag through here? We know that that is a river. And so I think that might be Lake Sabine, but eventually coming out of this river, or coming out of this lake, is going to be the Sabine River. So there it is. And I just continue it south. And we're going to keep following the border between us and Louisiana all the way out to the Gulf of Mexico. So I hope you see that pattern, that all three rivers that we have mapped so far all end up in the Gulf of Mexico. That's not a coincidence. So paint bucket, change it blue, make it a little bit bolder, zoom out. All right, for my fourth river, we're gonna look at the Brazos River. For this one, you don't have to be too exact. I know that the Brazos is the river that runs through Waco, and it starts somewhere out here, kind of in West Texas. So I'm going to just pick a place kind of around here on Seymour that looks like a river area right there. And I'm going to not zoom out that far, but kind of look through here. And when I look through here, I can see that sure enough, there's the Brazos River. And I'm just going to make my way following this green area on the map down through Waco. And let me make sure that I'm following the Brazos. There it is. Let me zoom out. It goes by College Station and down around Houston, and once again empties out into the Gulf of Mexico. Make it the right color blue, and there you go. And for our last river, the Colorado River, it is an extremely tough river to follow here in West Texas. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start my line from this direction of the Gulf, or from the Gulf, and go north, even though that's not the direction that the river's flowing. But here's the Colorado River right here. So I'm going to add my line out here and then start following the river upstream. So the Colorado River is actually the river that runs through downtown Austin. So if I zoom out and kind of push my way up that direction, I know that I need to get to Austin somehow. And by looking at the land, it's probably, you know, about this way. I see a big body of water north of Austin, and sure enough, it's the Colorado River that's gonna go through there. It gets pretty wide. And then from Austin, it's just kind of gonna go in, let's say, the central area of Texas up through here. Looks good. So I'll pick a spot to end my line. That's around close to where the Colorado River gets started. It actually starts around the city of Colorado City. But there we have our major rivers of Texas, the ones that make up our borders, and then the two major interior ones. So continuing to work backwards on our sheet, the next thing that I would do is I would map the Balcones Escarpment. And so if I look at page 53 in our textbook, no, not 53, the same page, 58, you can see that it kind of crosses the Guadalupe and Colorado rivers, and we can actually see this on our map. So see this big curved kind of area right there? That's what an escarpment is. So in order to map that, our directions say add a brown line that maps that. So I'm going to take my line tool, and I'm just going to follow that rounded looking landform on our map. End my line and name it. I'm curious to see if they have a picture of that in Google, what that would look like. So here's some options. It looks this kind of looks like call it a fault type area. So I'm going to use my paint bucket, choose the brown color, and older. And then your teacher may also want you to define what an escarpment is here. That would be a good place to do it by using the pencil tool. So the next thing that it calls for is some geographical items in Texas, and we can use the search bar tool for these. So the first one is Big Bend National Park. And just like we did before, what we did is we added it to our map, but I'm going to remove all this extra info. Our instructions tell us to choose green for the color and do a circle icon. So this puts you right in the middle of Big Bend National Park. So sure enough, whenever you zoom out, you can see that it's in this bend of the river. Sorry about that. This bend of the river in West Texas. The next one we're going to find is the Palo Duro Canyon, and we can search for the state park. It takes us to this rugged looking area. We're going to add it to our map, remove this extra stuff, change the color to the same green, make it a circular icon, and zoom out. And sure enough, one of our rivers starts near the canyon. All right, the third thing we're going to add is the Llano Basin. I'm going to search for Llano, Texas, because it's an actual city, and add it to our map. I'm going to remove the extra stuff, change it to green, make it a circle, and zoom out, and you can kind of see that that's in. And then the last one I want to do, I don't know if we can search for Barrier Island. Let's see. So it says Barrier Island Drive. I don't think Aubrey's going to do it. So the search icon won't work. Let's go ahead and zoom on over to the Gulf of Mexico. And I want you to look at this exterior island, like this Matagorda Island, San Jose Island. And let's put a marker there because that is actually what a barrier island looks like. This would be a really good place for your definition and explain why that's important to the state of Texas. Make it green for geographical feature. All right, so we have our major landforms, we have our major rivers, we have our major cities. The only thing left to do is to map our regions of Texas. So for this, you're going to want to go to page your textbook, and we're going to use the line tool, but instead of making a line, we're going to close the line to make a shape. So let me kind of show you what that looks like. You choose your line feature, add line or shape, and then you literally start clicking like you do a line, but if you want to make it a shape, you just literally make a shape and close off the line. So click on the last white dot that you clicked on, and that creates a polygon. So I'm going to cancel that and delete it. So the first region that I'm going to do is the Mountains and Basins region. It should be fairly simple to map because we can use most of our Texas borders to create this shape. So I'm going to start here at the corner of Texas. And again, this does not have to be exact whatsoever. I can see Odessa in my book is right on the edge of it, and then it comes out just a little bit, and then is going to be, the boundary will be I just stopped my line. So if that happens, if you make a line instead of a shape, cancel it, go ahead and delete it, and you'll have to start over. But follow the Rio Grande River up towards El Paso, make my straight line across, and see how my mouse changes to the pointer finger? That's how I can end my line and it becomes a polygon shape. So I'm going to name the shape Mountains and Basins region. I'm going to save it, and in your book it's a pink color, so I'm going to go ahead and choose a color that's close to that. I'm going to make my border a little bit thicker, and then the transparency, so you can make it one solid color or you can make it disappear. I'm going to just put my transparency kind of right in the middle so I can still see some of the landscape underneath it. You'll be adding a description and picture later on, but let's go ahead and map the other three regions. So the next one I'm going to do is the Great Plains. So half of this looks easy, the other half looks a little busy, but I know that I'm going to start in the Panhandle of Texas. I'm going to go ahead and make my straight line north to south. I'm going to follow the edge of the pink line, the pink shape that I already made. And then I'm going to zoom in. We already mapped Del Rio. In your book, it shows that Del Rio is kind of on the edge of two regions. So I'm just going to follow my river that I made down to Del Rio. And then I'm going to, it looks like, follow probably close to the escarpment to San Antonio, north of that, following that to Austin. And then it looks like we'll probably follow the edge of the Colorado River. It goes up a tiny bit, comes back down, does not include San Angelo, goes around that. And then it just kind of zigzags all the way through Texas, probably around whatever this border is right here. Not border, but this mark in the land. Okay, I come up here, then just follow the rest of my natural border of Texas. Close my line. This one that we just mapped is the Great Plains. We're going to make that an orange color. And I want to make my border a little bit bigger. Okay. Next, we'll map the North Central Plains. So grab your line tool and just start where you left off, following all the orange that you just did. Until we get to Austin. In Austin, we're gonna kind of go north towards Waco, stay on the edge of Waco, and go in between Dallas and Fort Worth. Basically up Highway 75 right here to the border of us in Oklahoma. Then follow my Red River blue line until I get to the Panhandle once again. And there are my North Central Plains. I don't think I showed you how to move a white dot. If you were to accidentally not follow a line or want to be more exact, you just click on the pencil and then I can grab any one of these points and kind of move it over. So see how once I clicked on the pencil, my mouse changed to the pointer finger. So I can actually get a little bit more exact with my lines by moving them. All right, for the North Central Plains, we're going to make them yellow. And then one more region of Texas, and that's the Coastal Plains. Get my line tool, and that's pretty much everything else that we haven't done. So we just need to make a shape that represents that. Follow our river borders that we made. Follow along that barrier island that we found along the coast of Texas and the Gulf of Mexico, up the Rio Grande River to around Del Rio, and then outline our orange and yellow regions. Then I'll end my shape where I started, name it the Coastal Plains, use my paint bucket tool to color it a light green color. And there you have it. We've mapped our 4 regions. So at this point, what you may do is you may start talking about the different subregions within these places. But once kids have made this map, what I would do is I would start asking them questions to spark their curiosity. So I added those to the end of this document. And it's just, you know, letting them go and discover things that they can see, making observations. So the first one, you know, zoom into the Rio Grande River. And what you can see is you can see the national border between the US and Mexico, but ask them, what's different about the landscape that you see? If this is supposed to be kind of desert type area, why is it so green around the river? Or zoom out, and once you can turn off, see how this is checked over here in the menu option? If you uncheck that, it'll remove all of your markers, but have them find Interstate 20 and travel west on Interstate 20. And about at what point, what city does the landscape really start to change, moving from those coastal plains out west? Want them to zoom in to these barrier islands along the Gulf Coast. Why are there so many nationals? What's a national seashore or a wildlife refuge? Because whenever you look along the coast here, there's a ton of those. So I just wonder why there and not other places in Texas. Another one, search for the city of Seagraves real quick. Seagraves, Texas. So when you click on Seagraves, don't add it to your map. I mean, X out of it, but kind of zoom out. Look at the landscape around there. Look at those circular patterns in the field. What do you think causes those? Or, you know, ask kids about those if they've seen any movies about that. But why is it around this area of Texas and say not over here? What's going on over here that makes it different from this area? Another thing you can ask is you can search for specific latitude and longitude. So if I were to type in 32.874, comma, minus 102, this is the longitude part, 0.919, and hit enter, it's going to drop a marker on a specific place in Texas. And so this specific place, you zoom in and you see all these funny patches of missing. But then whenever you zoom into some of these things, you can actually see and tell what this thing is. So then we can ask kids, what are those? Why are they in this area? Why don't we have anything that looks like this around Mesquite or around other parts of Texas? Similar to that, we can search for another place, 32.519, comma, minus 100.633. And this puts us kind of in a similar type situation where we can zoom in and we see these lines of these post looking things. It just looks kind of funny. But when we zoom in, actually what you're seeing is a shadow. That dark black thing is a shadow, and the real structure is the white portion. So ask your kids, what are these things? What are they used for? Why are they all over this area of West Texas? And why don't we have any of those in Mesquite? What's keeping us from having those over in this part of our state? But ask them those questions, see what they can come up with. And then once you finish talking about all the regions and everything you have to teach for them to master this concept, go ahead and have them answer those essential questions. And look forward to the next lesson of the early people of Texas. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.